welcome back to LNTV. This is Scott Cosenza, and I'm here with Andrew Moran today. And Andrew wrote an interesting piece for LibertyNation.com discussing Rand Paul's endorsement of Judge Roy Moore, who is running in the special election in Alabama to replace Jeff Sessions, who, when he became Attorney General, had to resign his Senate seat, and this special election will be to fill that Senate seat. Roy Moore won the Republican nomination for that seat, and Rand Paul has now endorsed him. And why is that causing some controversy, Andrew?
Yeah, so Rand Paul, of course, he's Ron Paul's son. He's been known as a libertarian-leaning Republican, and he's joined with a lot of other Tea Partiers in the Senate recently, such as Mike Lee. Now, the reason why this is highly irksome to many libertarians is the fact that Roy Moore isn't really a libertarian. He pays lip service to certain issues, such as he wants to cut taxes, he wants to cut spending, he doesn't want foreign entanglements and constant foreign interventions. He spouts the usual song and dance that a lot of conservatives and libertarians want to hear. But as I noted in my piece, that the history of Roy Moore is quite questionable. He thinks that the reason why 9/11 happened or that Sandy Hook massacre happened is because away from God, and that we legitimize abortion, we legitimize sodomy. He was a birther. He thinks that Keith Ellison shouldn't be in Congress because he swore on the Islamic book, the Quran, excuse me, and everything else. He thinks homosexuality should be illegal and it's abhorrent. And these aren't libertarian principles to have. If you really want to have libertarian-leaning Republicans in your party, that's not someone you want to have. I mean, who even knows if he wants to really cut spending or vote bills that will, not lead to foreign entanglements and on foreign territory. So Rand Paul, as his career can be defined as this: one step forward, two steps back. In the last year, he's done an incredible job of regaining his credibility, but all of a sudden that's gone down the toilet because of his endorsement of Roy Moore.
Well, thank you, Andrew. That was quite a bit of information, and you were speaking pretty quickly there. Is it right to say that Mr. Moore wants homosexuality to be criminally illegal?
Yeah, in a recent, or in a 2002 ruling, when he was judge in Alabama, he said that it was abhorrent and that it's illegal, or it should be illegal, and that it goes against the natures of God and the natures of the law. And if you're a libertarian, you work on the premise of the non-aggression principle, and the non-aggression principle is pretty much live and let live, as long as you don't interfere in another person's lives. And Rand Paul, through a statement to Reason magazine, he said that there isn't one libertarian position on certain issues like gay rights or immigration, which is false, because, as I just mentioned, the NAP is vital to libertarianism and should be vital to politicians across the United States. But of course, that's not going to happen.
Well, sure. Is there any libertarian who thinks it's okay to throw a fellow member of the human race into a cage for consensual activity with another adult? That seems to be job one of a libertarian, right? Is to advocate for peacefully living with our neighbors and allowing them to exist and do things that we might not approve of, but if they're not affecting our rights to do the same, we leave them be.
Yes, absolutely. We may find certain ideas morally repugnant. We may disagree with everything they do, but it's their right to do it. As long as they're not imposing their will on us, we shouldn't really care. We can do whatever we want with our body. We can put whatever we want inside of our bodies, and someone can do whatever they want inside of their bedroom as long as they're not harming anybody and it's consensual. So the idea that homosexuality should be illegal should be something frightening. It should be a frightening prospect, even if a guy like Roy Moore espouses the principles of smaller government, anti-war, and less spending. But as we know from Republican history, it's usually quite the opposite. They flip. We saw this with George W. Bush in 2000. He wanted a non-interventionist foreign policy, and then look what happened. 3 wars, and then this continued with Obama, and now it's continuing with Donald Trump.
Okay, now Rand Paul is Ron Paul's son, and I think that for most libertarians, I think that it doesn't matter if you're a libertarian. I think that Ron Paul is arguably the most libertarian member of Congress of the last 50 or longer years. And those of us who want to further those libertarian beliefs in the body politic think of Rand, or hoped for Rand to be a ideological and political successor to his father. And as I recall, I haven't exhaustively looked at the record, but that Ron Paul was very circumspect about his political endorsements and did not endorse people who would kind of be on the far side of the non-aggression principle. Can you comment on that?
Yeah, one thing I respected from Ron Paul is that he embraced the Murray Rothbardian way of handling issues. So when he was in Congress, he would build coalitions. He would work with people on both sides of the aisle who were anti-war, but then he would work with certain members who wanted to shrink the size of government, and then he would work with certain parts of Congress who wanted to have a balanced budget. So when Ron Paul was in Congress, he allied himself with a lot of people. However, when it came to endorsements, he was quite particular in who he endorsed. I remember in 2008, once he dropped out, he endorsed the Constitution Party Canada, I believe. And he as Ron Paul is a champion of the Constitution, he looked at the Constitution Party as a way to help promote his ideas and many of the libertarian ideas and the Bill of Rights and the Constitution. So Ron Paul was quite strategic on who he endorsed. And from my recollection, he never endorsed somebody like Roy Moore. Ron Paul, he's a religious individual, but he never publicly said that he hates homosexuals or that it should be illegal. And so Ron Paul, he knew who he endorsed and he knew what his base would have liked and would not have liked. Rand Paul seems to be quite the opposite. He seems to be, I guess, he's trying to be strategic on who he endorses, to try to get certain legislation passed. Some of Rand Paul's people, they told Reason that one of the reasons why Rand Paul chose Roy Moore is because he would have voted with him to end Obamacare, and he would have voted for him to rein in spending. Now, that's just hearsay. You don't know if that's true or not because he wasn't in office. But if you endorse a guy like Roy Moore, you have to be pretty sure that they're going to vote the way that the libertarian way of the libertarian legislation.
Yes, well, I'm sure that while all libertarians despise Obamacare, I think they think worse about throwing our neighbors in prison for consensual adult sexual activity that we may not agree with. Well, thanks so much for joining me, Andrew. And for Liberty Nation TV, this is Scott Cosenza. Bye-bye.